Hello, everybody. Seven Grant, Dallas Morning News, sportsladfw.com, your friendly neighborhood beat guy on the Texas Rangers beat. I'm going to take off my glasses very Walter Cronkite like. Get very serious with you. I'm sorry about the red and dyes. Allergies. I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with that. Also, for you kids, Walter Cronkite was a famous newsman back when people watched the network news. Networks, those are not streaming things. It was like what we used to do at dinner time. We'd watch the news and everything. Never mind. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Coming to you after a Rangers defeat at the hands of the Houston Astros. Probably would have lost this game anyway. They only managed 3 hits against Jake Odorizzi and the Astros bullpen. But I don't think they did themselves any favors. And that's been the most disappointing thing, I think, for the Rangers in this first 3 weeks of the season is, listen, the offense is what the offense is. There's going to be nights when it's really good. It's going to be better than last year. And there's going to be nights when it doesn't produce. And this was a night where they didn't have a great approach against Jake Odorizzi and didn't execute it. The rotation is going to be what the rotation is. There's a couple of established starters in there, and John Gray when he's off the IL, and Martin Perez. And the other guys are all auditioning for roles. And I think I kind of addressed this in a column I wrote at the outset of this current homestand on which the Rangers are in the opening stages of their World Series against Houston and Atlanta. This is a big homestand for this team to try and right itself and get through a tough stretch of the schedule, which is a good measuring stick. Even though the Astros have struggled, it's a good measuring stick for this club. But it's also a really good measuring stick for two guys who have gotten pretty significant opportunities here in the rotation, Dane Dunning and Taylor Hearn, and both of them have been off to inconsistent starts this year. Neither one had seen the 6th inning going into the week. Good news is Dunning got through the 6th, made his first quality start. Really strong effort against Houston on Monday night. Other side, Taylor got through 5 innings, his longest outing of the year, on Tuesday night against Houston. But there were just rough spots. Most notably for me was a 2-0 fastball sinker to Kyle Tucker with man on base with the game on the line. Really, it's just a pitch you can't make. He left it in the middle of the hitting zone, and you just can't make that mistake. If you're going to make that mistake, it's got to be below the zone. You cannot leave a pitch like that to that kind of hitter in the heart of strike zone. And so afterwards, Chris Woodward, I would say was, what's the right way to say it? Frank. I think, look, he said on Monday that these guys are going to continue to get opportunity for the time being. He called it a golden opportunity for Taylor here to seize a rotation spot. But the bottom line is they've also got to execute, and just hasn't seen that to this point in time from Taylor. One thing that Woodward did mention on Monday, or on Tuesday, I'm getting my days mixed up. One thing he did mention was that he would like to see Taylor be a little bit more free on the mound, so to speak. Doesn't feel like he's just gone out and absolutely attacked hitters. Like he's been a little bit tentative, hesitant to just really go after guys, let fly the 95 to 97 mile an hour fastball that made him effective as a starter in the second half of last season, and that he showed it during spring training this year. And if you're going to judge this team, from my perspective, if you're going to judge this team on anything this year, it's going to be what guys like Hearn and Dunning do, because John Gray is going to be here long term, and the Rangers expect him to be part of the rotation. This is my hand signal for a building block in the rotation. Jack Leiter, who I saw last Saturday night, have some trouble with fastball command in his third professional start. And Cole Winn, other building building blocks, they are going to be here in the not too distant future. It's kind of your bookends. You're going to have 2-3 guys right there on either end of the rotation, and you've got to have something in the middle. That's where guys like Hearn and Dunning have the opportunity to establish themselves as big league starters and fill out a championship rotation. And quite frankly, the Rangers feel like if these guys don't do it, there will be other guys down the road. But for the timing, as the Rangers would like to be contenders for certain in 2023. I'm not counting out the 2022 season, but this team is not a complete roster. It would have to significantly overachieve to make the playoffs or make a playoff run, so to speak. But in the arc of the Rangers, in the arc of the Rangers contending window, for everything to time up well, you've got to have the nucleus of rotation, and these two guys are key to it. You know, they spent a lot of money on lineup parts, a lot of inventory on lineup parts, and Seager and Semien, the trade for Mitch Garver, Brad Miller, Cole Calhoun, and on and on. They added a couple of pieces to the rotation to fill it out in Gray and Perez. And they feel like Jonathan Hernandez and Jose Leclerc will be back in the bullpen late June, early July. And, you know, if this team were by some chance in contention, they'd be real strong assets down the stretch. If they were to really overachieve and be in the heart of contention, there would be the opportunity to go out and add another bullpen guy. I think that's, you know, me being a little bit ahead of myself, but where you're going to judge this team, I think, is going to be on what these starters do to kind of either establish that they are part of the future or not. And so it's been an inconsistent start, to say the least, for both of these guys. Dunning took a step forward on Monday. Hearn was better than he was in his last time out against Seattle, but as Chris Woodward said, still not quite what it is that we're looking for. So that's pitching talk. Upbeat stuff. Hey! Let's talk about something else as I take off my watch here, since it's banging against the table. Marcus Semien. You know, one thing I wondered about was how Semien and Seager would live up to the pressures that went along with these big contracts. And I really go back to the experience that Shin-Soo Choo had here when he signed in 2014. He got off to a rough start. He really struggled, really all the way through the All-Star break. It was when he had a conversation with his wife, and she actually told him, you know, you need to just be yourself. You need to stop trying to live up to expectations. That's when he started to recover himself and ended up being a productive hitter here throughout the term of this contract. But I think it is a real thing that guys get these big contracts and they feel like they deserve them, but they also feel like they want to live up to them. You'd want that in anybody's work ethic. And I think it's a real thing. And I talked to Chris Woodward a little bit about it today or this week, and he's indicated, yeah, you know, the Rangers are aware of that. It's not something that they go up to, like I did today, go to Marcus Semien and just kind of blurt out. So when Chu was struggling, and Marcus, to his credit, was very polite, but he didn't want to exactly say that he's struggling. Um, but my point is that the Rangers have addressed this with these guys about knowing that there's more here than just going out and performing. That there is an understanding that these guys are trying to live up to some expectations, and to expect to do well, but know that they can't always control the outcome. So I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but I do think that listen, the first year of a big contract, I think is it's something of an adjustment for a lot of guys. You know, you spent all your life trying to get to free agency to a point where you can determine how much you truly are worth. Then you get that, and the competitor in you doesn't just sit back and say, "Yeah, I'm worth it." The competitor in you wants to go out and prove to everybody that yes, you are worth it. And so I think that's been a little bit of an issue, perhaps for Marcus early in the season. Don't know if I don't know how I describe Corey Seager on that front. Certainly, he's not off to the hottest of starts. Both guys have OPSs under 700 through the first 16 games of the season. The other thing that I think that those two guys are struggling with, by the way, is, and there's not data on this. If somebody knows where there is double play expectancy data, I'd love to see it. But I really feel like these guys in the middle are struggling to turn double plays right now, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's a product of both being new to the organization, if it's partly expectations, partly the short spring training, that they didn't have as much time to work together as other guys did, but it just feels like they're a little bit slow on turning the double play. There was a close play in the Houston game on Tuesday night that originally was called a double play and then was overturned against them. And even before that, I was just kind of wondering, are they having issues with it? Chris Woodward downplayed it a little bit, but my eyes tell me that there's still something of an adjustment to be made there. Let's finish on an up note here. I don't know why my eyes are closed. Let's finish on an up note. Sunday, May 1st. The closure of the current homestand will be the post-game airing of the Nolan Ryan documentary, Facing Nolan. All I've seen are trailers for it. And I think it's going to be a really cool experience for Ranger fans who want to come out to the ballpark that day, stay around to watch the documentary after the game. There will be a Q&A with Nolan Ryan after the game as well for those fans who want to stick around and watch it. I am sure that, listen, it's going to play into the whole hero worship of Nolan Ryan in Texas, but I think that is what Nolan established for himself with his career, with the way he's lived his life, and I think it's what people want to see. And he is his down to earth guy, an ultra competitor, and this really kind of takes you through his entire baseball career with some great voices that we saw in the trailer from Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, George Brett, Pete Rose. It's great to see all that. There's some really good footage, and so I'm excited to actually see it. I think you will too. You'll have the Braves game on Sunday afternoon, finale of a 3-game series with the world champions, followed by the Nolan Ryan showing, and I think that's going to be a really good afternoon for folks who show up. And maybe the Rangers will have a few more good afternoons and good evenings between now and then. It looked like they were getting on something of a I don't want to say roll, but they were certainly stabilizing. And then Tuesday night's game was just not a great effort on any stretch of the imagination. Chris Woodward was actually fairly critical of the team. So we'll leave it at that. I am about to start sneezing again. And so I'm going to sign off and say, so long, everybody.